Hey everybody, this is Elise from Camp ASCCA, and you're listening to Camp ASCCA, the podcast, the show that dives into all things ASCCA and the people that make camp the incredible place it is. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media to stay up to date with what's happening here at camp. That's at Camp ASCCA, CAMPASCCA.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Camp ASCCA, the podcast. I'm Matt Rickman, Camp ASCCA's camp director. And today I have the pleasure of talking to John Latimer. John is the Camp and Community Programs Director for Camp Seale Harris, aka Southeastern Diabetes Education Services. Welcome, John. How you doing?
Doing well. Just staying busy in this camp season before the camp season.
That's right. That's right. We want to obviously tell our audience a little bit more about Camp Seale Harris and what you guys do. But just wanted to start off and learn a little bit about you personally. So if you don't mind, if you'll just kind of share with us maybe a little bit about your education, where you grew up, a little bit about your family, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been involved with Camp Seale Harris for about 35 years. So I have type 1 diabetes myself, and that's how I got started with camp years and years ago. But spent most of my childhood in Huntsville, Alabama, for going to college and moving around, and then ended up going to college at Samford University in Birmingham. So I have a biology degree with occasionally has something to do with my current role, like, as a camp director, but not always. But it gives me some useful information. And yeah, after college, my wife Sarah and I, we got married then, and then since then we've moved around quite a bit just for camps. Ran some diabetes camps in other states before coming back to Alabama about 11 years ago. But we have two kids, 19-year-old Josiah, and who is past high school now working, and then 17-year-old Susan, who is in her last semester of high school.
Wow. I can't believe that they're that old. That makes me and you both old.
I know this will be the first year Josiah actually hasn't volunteered most of the summer with me since he has a regular job now.
Oh, well, I'm running the same thing. This will be last summer, but yeah, Zach's out in the working world, and
Yeah.
I don't think Andy's probably going to end up doing an internship, so I won't have either one of my kids this summer either. So yeah, it's weird. They're all growing up, but I've had the pleasure of seeing your kids grow up, and obviously I've known you for many years, personally and professionally, and so just glad that you're here with us today. Touched on it a little bit. If you could kind of just tell us a little bit more about your career path. I know that you did some with Seale Harris, and then you were with a couple other camps.
Yeah, so I always just say back in the day, I mean, I guess that's the collective term, but I was the seasonal, our season at that point was only about 3 weeks long, but I was the seasonal camp director at Camp Seale Harris back in, I think, starting in 2001.
Mm.
And did that just, 2 or 3 weeks every summer just for the summer camp programs while I worked at UAB in my regular job at that point. And then in 2005, had the opportunity to move into camping full time and went up to the Joslin Diabetes Center's boys diabetes camp up in Massachusetts, and then was there for a few years. They merged that camp merged with the girls camp, which was right down the road. So the Barton Center. So worked for them for a few years. 6 years total between both of them combined, and then also spent about 4 years in New Jersey at a diabetes camp there, Camp Najeta, and I actually still work with them a little bit on the side. And then back, like I said, about 11 years ago in 2014, came back to Camp Seale Harris as the full-time camp director at that point, and I've been here since.
Great, great. And like I said, I've known you through a lot of that, or at least since 2001.
Yeah.
And just to give you some a compliment, I've been amazed at since you've come back this last time for Camp Seale Harris, just some of the changes and how it's expanded, and that I've gotten to kind of see Camp Seale Harris grow with you,
Yeah.
uh, and it's pretty awesome what you guys are doing. So with that in mind, if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit. We know, and you can talk about Camp ASCCA, obviously. We know the bulk of your programs take place here, but you guys are doing much more than just coming to Jackson's Gap.
Yeah. So, I think we started using Camp ASCCA for our main programs back in, I think it was 1992. I was a camper back then, and I think it was only my third year at camp. But but we've had our main programs there since then. The late '90s, early 2000s, Camp Seale Harris started running, some day camps elsewhere in the state, Birmingham, Dothan, and then just, our last new day camp program was added my first year back. So in 2014, we added our last kind of day camp in Huntsville. But since then, our summer, it's 7, 8 weeks long, between training and overnight camps. We added another overnight campsite at the end of the summer and day camps. So, I mean, when we're talking about it, we go 3 weeks at Camp ASCCA, a week of day camp. We travel from Dothan to Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, and Birmingham, and then we finish off the summer with an overnight and a day camp week in Mobile. And then that's just the summertime, and then year round, obviously two of our 3 year-round family camps, Camp ASCCA hosts those, and then we do another one in Mobile. Plus, one of the nice advantages we try to take into account is we do a lot of community programs since we don't own a site. We do a lot of 1 day programs throughout the state throughout the year just to keep families involved and to see us. So it's you said this, a lot of it was in the, a few years before me, but some we've done since then. But, Camp Seale Harris is definitely more than just the 2 or 3 weeks we did when I started going to camp, which has been great to see.
Yeah, awesome. No, you guys are doing so much, and yeah, you kind of just summed up what I was going to ask. I know as a camp director, I get this question a lot, which is, well, what do you do in the wintertime? Yeah, and there's just so many things to do.
Yeah, I mean it's different. Obviously we do programs, but that's where one thing we don't have other than our 5 year round people in the office. All of our staff throughout the year are volunteers. So a lot of the other time when I'm not running a program with the volunteers is communicating with them and making sure that they know when programs are coming up and trying to get them there, and just, thank them for the time that they're giving us, because obviously that resource of volunteers lets that money that we'd otherwise pay go to help getting campers to camp.
Right, right. For any of our listeners, not to get too medical with you, but maybe just tell us a little bit, just a quick description of what is diabetes, but also, kind of what's Camp Seale Harris's role in with diabetes.
Yeah, and most of what we deal with is type 1 diabetes, so I'll focus on that. But in a nutshell, type 1 diabetes is where it's an autoimmune condition to where those of us with type 1 diabetes are not able to make insulin, which is needed to use sugar or glucose. So that doesn't mean we can't have sugar. That just means we have to take insulin, whether it's by an injection or insulin pump, in order to be able to use that sugar that we eat. And it's in everything. And we need sugar even when we're not eating. So just because we're not eating doesn't mean we don't eat insulin. So that's where we still have to take shots or use an insulin pump or something. So again, it's just the lack of our body being able to make insulin. Camp Seale Harris's piece of that. Now, while we do get educators in and we want to teach, our mission is to educate or encourage and empower kids with type 1 and their families. So obviously we want to educate them on their diabetes, tell them things, if they don't know anything, we want to try to tell them. We want to empower them, like there's very few things, especially lately with technology and advancements in diabetes care, that people with diabetes can't do. There used to be a long list of things that we weren't allowed to do, or people said wasn't safe, but camp tries to empower them that they can. And our volunteers, because of all the spectrum of jobs and education that they have, we try to tell them that. But then again, these are kids that we have at camp, so I really have felt that they're part of their job description is to have fun. So we want to let them hang out with other people with diabetes and see that, but we want them just to have fun. If they can do some activities they don't usually get to do at home, whether it's, not everybody has a zip line in their backyard. So if we can give them an opportunity to do something like that, where that's the one time a year they get to do it, then outstanding. We've given them an experience where hopefully they want to come back and have fun and help younger kids or other people with diabetes like themselves.
Y'all are doing just I could go on and on, for you, so I'll try not to talk too much. I've always been amazed, getting to see your program. I tell anybody I ever meet if they when they have a child who if I have a friend or anybody, that has a child that is diagnosed with diabetes, one of the first things I talk about is Camp Seale Harris. I'm like, if I had a child with diabetes, I would 100% send them to your program because I've firsthand seen the benefits of what you guys do and how it affects the parent as well as the child, and just getting to be around. I think one of the things I hear a lot is, and we hear it with our campers, is this is one of the few places I feel normal because everybody around me has this similar challenges. I guess talk to me a little bit about that, and maybe who your counselors are and how that relates to the relationship with the campers.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we want to do as far as getting those kids to camp. I mean, I don't know about you. Like, I'm still finding more and more parents of campers that we see. Like, fewer of them have had their own camp experiences, whether that's day or overnight. But being away from home, like we're finding, less and less. So we're having to show them the importance of, it for a week. That independence level of meeting other people. They're a little unfamiliar with, and that challenge. It's helpful to learn and meet the new people, but kind of to take that fearful step of getting out of their comfort zone and going to a new environment,
Mhm.
especially when we have to tell them what camp means. It's not necessarily staying in tents and things that they imagine. But our counselors help with that, and again, they're volunteers, and the vast majority of our counselors were former campers. So they're usually college age. Few of them are older, but most of the time we get them as college students before they finish and have regular jobs. But they, whether it's 1 or more years, but they grew up as campers, and some of them went through our counselor and training program. But they, yes, it kind of starts off that they want to give back, but then they're also the best ones a lot of times with a little bit of training and encouragement, that they've got the skills of working with kids. The kids look up to them, but most of them having diabetes themselves, they can also kind of be an example of, there's not perfection when it comes to diabetes. Something we continually work at, and that's what we want to tell them. The kids is that they can do this. There's people there to help them. They don't have to do this alone. But people like these counselors are people who can do that, and they're living it themselves. We do have a few counselors who grew up as children of medical staff, as usually the kind of the next group after the former campers. A lot of times they're just as excited to help out and help those kids, and they have the knowledge, between the knowledge passed down from their parents and the knowledge that they got from being, campers. Even though they didn't have diabetes, they got to see it. And we still give them the same training, no matter if they have diabetes or not, as far as how to take care of it. So those are the vast majority of who our counselors were. But like I said, they usually are able to give us, a few years after they graduate high school to help take care of the campers throughout the year. It's not just summer. They'll help us at weekends or day programs throughout the year.
Right, right. No, it's been awesome for us to get to witness as well. When you see a kid come up who was, a first time camper, and I've been here long enough. I've seen those first time campers come up and become counselors, and then some of them have become Camp ASCCA full time staff as well. So it's been a great relationship and a great connection that we both have. So we talked a little bit about the counselors. There's also I know another big piece for you guys is your other support staff, your medical staff, your nutritionists. Maybe tell us a little bit about them and who they are.
Yeah, so the medical staff, I mean, number wise, it's probably close to like the total number of counselors. I mean, it's, compared to non-medical camps, the number of people we have to take care of medical capacity is huge. Now again, they're all volunteer, but that's where I think a lot of traditional camps around the country, when they hear how many medical staff I try to recruit, they're like, wow, that's more than the one EMT or nurse that they might have on call if they're not on site. But yeah, so the medical staff, obviously, while the counselors are living and taking care of the kids in the cabins, with diabetes plus, again, diabetes doesn't mean they don't come in with other conditions. And we still have to take care of the diabetes part and make adjustments. Any given overnight camp week, we'll have, 2 to 4 physicians, 10, maybe more nurses, anywhere from, 1 to 3 pharmacists, a dietitian. and then, potentially a nurse practitioner as well, but then we usually have students that are in all those roles at camp as well. Because one, we want to show those students what it's like diabetes in the real world versus clinical. But two, a lot of times those people, some of them become our medical staff later to kind of keep that cycle going. But all the medical staff work together for the different pieces of diabetes just to make sure the kids are taken care of. But again, like I said, a kid cannot feel well or come in with another medical condition. Those medical staff help with that as well. Yeah, and but the it's also good for our medical staff for teaching them, and that again that this is a something that the real world example of diabetes is different from the clinical, but we want the kids to see some of their doctors and nurses that they know from home. They get to see them in the real world, and that they don't live in the clinic. Kind of like some people think that I live in this certain room at camp and I'm there 24/7 all year long, and I'm not a real person. That's the same thing that they think of their doctors and nurses, is that they have lives and kids, and they come and hang out for a week, and they're not in scrubs. They're in real clothes, and that makes a lot of campers. Uh, it weirds them out a little bit for the first few minutes, but after that, they're like, wow, these are people, and they get to know them, and they're some of their favorite people.
Yeah, yeah, they're amazing. Again, I have obviously inside information, but
Yeah.
always amazed at just the quality and the care, and just genuine good people that you guys bring year in and year out, and the consistency. I know I'm probably playing favorites here, but I know my favorite's Dr. Latif, and
Yeah.
I've seen him. For 26 years that I've been here, and I know he was coming here before then. So, just the consistency and the quality, and people like him are just amazing. What a great program you guys have. With that being said, if I'm a parent and I'm interested, and our child's interested, what type of I guess, do y'all offer any scholarships or camperships? And how would I go about getting involved?
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest messages we want to get out. There is a fee for camp, but we also, one of our uh, key messages is we don't want finance to play a piece in why someone can't go to camp. We were founded in 1949, so this is coming up our 76th year. And one of the big things that we've said so far, looking back through notes and history, is that we've never turned away someone because they can't pay. Again, knowing that there's other conditions out there, we know how, firsthand, I know how expensive diabetes can be. So
Right.
if someone can't afford to go, we're going to find a way for them to get there. Now, that might be a scholarship that we give, that might be a grant or a scholarship from another organization or something that we do year round anyway. But we're going to try to get them to go to camp. A large number now, a large number of our kids don't pay anything more than like a $25 registration fee. But even then, if it's a hardship, we're going to work with them.
Right.
The fee for the camp depends on what session they're going and location. But that registration fee for a lot of kids, that's all they pay. And again, sometimes that's even with help, because we definitely want to get them to come to camp. But that's what we do. When we're not running programs, we're raising money, and or writing grants in order to get that scholarship money to get those campers to camp.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, great. Kind of back to you a little bit, personally, professionally. I know that you're involved in a lot of other things with the American Camp Association and some of the other things that you do. Maybe tell us a little bit about your involvement there, as well as just kind of what does John Latimer enjoy doing? I know at the end of each summer season you have like a little routine that you do to kind of relax and refocus.
Yeah, so I guess I'll divide it up professionally
That
and
was a long
personally.
question.
They overlap, but yeah, professionally, I mean, yes. Now through camp, but again, it's something I enjoy doing too. I mean, you mentioned the American Camp Association. Both of our camps are accredited by that organization. I started doing visits to other camps because of that enjoying working with them. So through the ACA, when we get accredited, it's visitors. So it's not people who work for the ACA, it's people who volunteer with them, who come and actually visit your camp and score it and get the information needed for accreditation. And that's what I do now. Is I'm an ACA visitor, to where usually once a summer I'll go to another camp that I've never gone to before and visit them and help get the information needed for them to be accredited. I enjoyed it, so I teach other visitors, like people who want to be visitors for the first time. I'll help teach them. But I've enjoyed that and serve on a council as far as representing Alabama for that. So it's just something I've always enjoyed doing with the ACA and their conferences and teaching. Um, since I was a counselor and younger, and I did it, some as a side job when I was younger before, in college and just after. But you mentioned I teach archery and lifeguarding as well. Selfishly, right now, it helps my camp, and I know ASCA and Seal
It
Harris. I
helps us too.
train staff and it helped another one. But again, uh, it helps Camp Seale Harris, but it's also like the lifeguarding skills now I enjoy, but obviously that's a safety thing that I've believed in for a long time through the Red Cross in order to make sure that the people taking care of us in the pools and aquatics are good people and safe. Archery is the same thing, but I also just enjoy archery as a hobby anyway. But those are things I enjoy doing. Unfortunately, that usually only happens around the summer, but I do enjoy doing those as much as I can. Um, yeah, and then personally, I mean, I enjoy hiking and backpacking, and you mentioned my usual post summer excursion that I'll always go to like Shenandoah National Park, and I like night photography and astrophotography of taking pictures of stars and whatever I can, but just kind of spending time away in the middle of nowhere. It's related to camp, but that's the mental health rehabilitation time that I like taking just to kind of get a little bit of break after the summer and then go right back into planning the next summer. Because I think that's, as you probably get as well, I think a lot of people think, we start planning camp the month before and then it happens. But, you know,
Mhm.
summer Camp Seale Harris summer 2025 started being planned, in August and September of last year, if not
Mhm.
a little bit before. I mean, some of it is ongoing, and that's separate from all the programs we're running all the time anyway. So it's a nonstop thing, but yeah, it's something I've enjoyed doing for well almost 20 years full time. So still around and still enjoying it, and hope to be around for a little while longer.
Yeah, me and you both. Well, lastly, if I was again, if I was a parent and I was wanting to learn more about it, what's the best way to get information? Do you have a website? What do we need to do?
Yeah, so there's two big ways that you can do, and then one they can do on the side. But the two main ways, one, I mean, obviously in this technology world, like they can always go to our website, campsealharris.org. And that's seal with an E at the end. But it's something to where all the information is there just to get people started on what we're about and what our programs are. But I always do want people that if they're not ready or just have any questions, and our number's there, but I want them to call us in the office and just talk to us. 205 But that, all of us in the office, have some connection to diabetes, even if we don't have it ourselves. It's something that, myself and my programs manager both have diabetes. My wife is the registrar, so obviously she has a connection through me, and my sister has type 1. So, my family has that piece of history there. But even the executive director, her son is an adult now, but he has type 1, and that's how she got involved. So we we know how to answer questions and talk with them and give them that support that they need even before they get here. But we want to make sure that they don't have any questions before they register. And we hope they at least register for something, even if it's a community program or a family camp, before they try our day and overnight programs. They can also, if they're curious, most of the diabetes centers throughout Alabama, even Northwest Florida and Vanderbilt in Tennessee, like most of the diabetes centers in the state know who we are, so they can ask them about that or get information in our brochures. But even if they don't have that, they can contact us and get a brochure and information as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Sean. We appreciate your time. I did want to also just to kind of let our listeners know a little bit more about Camp ASCCA and Camp Seale Harris together. But I appreciate our relationship. Again, I've known you for so many years as a person and as a camp director, and I know over the years. Hopefully I've helped you. I probably haven't helped you as much as you've helped me, but I know I'll ask you questions sometime if it's regarding something about ACA
Oh,
or
it's definitely a two-way street. I feel there's help coming to me too, so I appreciate that.
I remember, even when we were both going through COVID, and trying to figure out how to move forward and how can we do programs and what are the protocols. And I know we had a lot of conversations together. So I just appreciate the relationship and both of our organizations and our staffs working together and then end up, sharing staffs, meaning, some of your guys end up coming to work at Camp ASCCA and, heck, currently two of our full-time staff were Camp Seale Harris campers, staff members, and now full-time staff at ASCCA. So it's been a great relationship and we really appreciate it and value it.
Absolutely. We've enjoyed the relationship over the years, and like I said, it's been going on since 1992, I think, according to my notes. So it's something
Yeah,
I hope that relationship continues.
good deal. Well, thank you so much. You have a nice day. And I do enjoy your background. I know our listeners can't see it, but I'm assuming that's one of your photographs in the background there.
That's from one of my trips a couple years ago to Shenandoah National Park. I try to get one every year, and some years the clouds don't cooperate, but that year it did.
Good. Yeah, that was a good year. All right. Well, take care, and I'm certain I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Bye.
What's happening at ASCCA? This is the part of the show where we are going to talk about everything that's happening right here at Camp ASCCA.
Hey everybody, it's Elise with the ASCCA update. Right now, we're gearing up for all of our user groups this spring. Things will really begin to pick up at the end of the month, and it will carry us all the way to summer. We have 2 ASCCA weekends coming up. Our spring weekend, which will be March 28th through the 30th, and then our annual rookie weekend for first-time campers and families that will be April 25th through the 27th. We are in the midst of hiring summer staff. We need counselors, program staff, PR interns, and nurses. If you or someone you know would be interested, visit our website or social media pages for more information and applications. Also, if you have a club, organization, or anything along those lines and are interested in sharing more about Camp ASCCA, let us know. We would be happy to visit and share more about ASCCA and the individuals that we serve. You can email me at elise@campascca.org and we can set something up. Summer will be here before we know it, and we look forward to seeing everyone so soon.
Thanks for listening to Camp ASCCA, the podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and look forward to you joining us next time. As always, be sure to follow us on social media at Camp ASCCA and visit our website, campascca.org, for more information about camp.